Hey, as an entrepreneur, sometimes we hear these amazing success stories and we can learn a ton from them. We can also learn from people's failures and challenges and so forth. But in a recent workshop I was just leading called the Dark Horse Society, in this workshop, we talked about some success stories and some failures and some of the things we learned from some people we admire, some of our mentors, and there was some great nuggets in there that I wanted to share with you right now.
It's interesting too, is like, do you have that same kind of thing in your roofing business? Like even within your own culture, your own company, can you create that sort of character, insider language, an us versus them mentality? Like all of those things help design that culture around the character.
Think of Sarah Blakely.
Yeah.
Her Spanx.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
This
have
story
you
is
seen
super good.
Yeah.
Instagram video of her, like, some company bought hers, I guess, and so she came into a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then she, like, gave everyone on her team first class tickets to anywhere in the world.
Yep.
And then so there, like, she shared her success.
Yes.
And then,
Yep.
like, I'm just this stranger, but I'm watching her success. Like, I'm cheering her on.
Yeah, go, right?
Well, and she's really good at telling the story about how she started in her apartment.
Yeah.
Selling fax machines.
Yeah. And she's like got pictures of our inventory when she first started Spanx, like in her one-bedroom apartment. She's really
So
good at
smart to
telling
have
that story.
documented that then too.
Well, and her husband's done amazing too. Like they both have these amazing stories where you go, oh, I want to, like, that's awesome. Like they're both very good at their story. Very good. He tells about trying to sell corporate jet memberships and he couldn't get into this conference. But he realized that everyone was across the street coming in to get donuts, I think it was, or muffins or whatever. And so what he did is he bought them all so no one could go, there was none there, so they had to come see him from the conference. It was great. It was like, what a cool story, right? Like,
You're like 30 seconds when you give up.
yeah, and so you go, oh, that's such a cool idea and something that any one of us could do, right? And so now all of a sudden you go, that's relatable, right? It's not the superhuman powers, it's not all that, it's relatable. Yeah.
Well, really, like, the only reason that these stories are so powerful is because where they're at now.
Right.
Everybody in this room has got a story, a start story.
Yeah.
You just don't have the conclusion yet. I've got a million fail stories.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just waiting for that one big success story to tie it all, you know.
Yeah.
The point is, we all have those stories. We've all documented certain things. I've got pictures of our refrigerator when we had like an apple in it, and that's all we could.
Yeah.
And we've used those in stuff before. But again, my point is that we all have those stories. It's a matter of positioning yourself in a way that they make sense for where you're at now.
And let me just add one thing, and then so I'm struggling with how to say it. So yes, and along the way, like I think sometimes in playing the reluctant hero, we wait till like we've hit something to start telling that story along the way. And the reality is that the perception of success is all relative. And so you may like, it's funny because somebody could see you and go, yeah, but you're successful. But you're like, no, not to where I want to go. Yeah. Right? So, but if I waited till here, which by the way, I will never get here because I keep pushing it, then I would never tell the story. So at some point you have to keep telling the story, right? Have you heard Kenneth Cole brand shoes and all that? Have you heard how he started his company? So Elizabeth is another story, but I told it at Connect. So you can, by the way, you can go grab the video of that one there. She came back to me, I went back to her, she's like, I've documented like 8 more stories today, so it's great. So I told this story because when I heard it, I was like, man, this is so smart. So I'll just shorten it up, but he started with shoes and he wanted to get into this convention where all these buyers were coming to buy this stuff, right? And so he went and it was too late. He couldn't get into the convention. So he's like, okay, fine, I'll park a truck out front and people can come see my shoes as they're walking in, right? Smart. Well, this was in New York and they're like, no, you can't be out here without a permit. And he's like, well, how do I get a permit? And there was like 2 ways you could get a permit. And one of them was you have to be shooting a movie. He's like, shoot. Okay. So he goes down to a print shop And he gets a card printed that said Kenneth Cole Productions. And he got his buddy, because he had no money either. He just had a couple shoes he's trying to get off the ground. And so he goes and gets his buddy, and they get the old, camcorder, right? He's like, it doesn't even have a tape in it. And he's like, he shows back up, he goes down to City Hall, and we're shooting a movie about the starting of a shoe company. And he got a permit, and he went down, and for the last 2 days, he stood out front, and his buddy followed him around with an empty camcorder like they were shooting a video. And he had a buyer that came and bought a bunch of orders for the shoes, and that's how he got his start.
I think he's really pissed that camera was empty.
Right? Especially with...
That's a good documentation.
Right. So a cool segue to that story, a cool follow-up to that story. I told that story on stage at Connect, and we took a clip of that, and I tagged him in it, and he messaged me back on Instagram. Said, thanks for telling my story. I said, I hope I got it correct. I heard it third hand. I hope it was correct. And he just thumbed up. So but that's the thing. So what I learned from that story, though, to Scott and Camber's point, and what I learned from Kenneth Cole's story is it's not a lack of resources, it's a lack of resourcefulness that typically stops us, right? So like he didn't have the resources to start it, but he got very resourceful and said, how do I make this work? And so a lot of the things in your journey is you're gonna be like, I don't have the resources for that, but I can be resourceful and find ways to get that. And that's usually the only thing that's stopping us, right? And so often too, we try to get creative when we lack revenue versus just getting resourceful. Like sometimes creative takes us off that path when we don't have the revenue for it.
Hey, if you found this share of the nuggets that we had at this mastermind in this workshop, if you found this successful, go ahead, like and subscribe, but then share it out to somebody who's in business that could learn from that as well, because sharing our successes and our failures is the greatest way for us as entrepreneurs to learn together, to grow together, and to prosper. So share this out.